In each tradition, there are ideas, and then there are the actions. To act, to walk, to speak, to follow. You know, Jesus was an active kind of teacher. He really wasn't one of those guys that just sat all the time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Jesus talked with the masses. He got out onto the mountaintop. He went out in the boat. He got out into the desert. But a lot of his stories were about action. Do you know, you remember some of his stories, don't you? The stories about reaping and sowing. The stories about leaving and returning. The stories about work. Jesus was all about getting people to stop talking and start moving. Jesus was about action. Do you remember that story about the man at the pool of Bethesda? I got to tell you, it's one of my most favorites, because don't you know the inner man at the pool of Bethesda in yourself? You know, don't you know that part of you that says, well, this is the way it's always been? And that's the man at the pool of Bethesda. He is the inner whiner. And he's not the one that we affirm. But there is that part of us, right? I mean, that's kind of sometimes 5 or 12 years old. The man at the pool of Bethesda was there lying, and he wanted to go into the sacred pool. And the disciples were going by with Jesus, and they didn't want Jesus to see that man, because he was kind of embarrassing, you know. So Jesus looked at him, and what's going on over here? You know, because he always wanted to know, of course. And the man said, can somebody pick me up and put me in the water? And Jesus said, do you want to be healed? Oh, I've been here for a really long time. I just need somebody to put me in the water. And Jesus said, what did he say? Do you want to be healed? Because the man hasn't said yes yet. And the man said, but I've really been here such a long time, and I just need a ride. I mean, can you put me on your back for a few minutes? And Jesus said, do you want to be healed? Right, let's go. Let's get that faith into practice, right? And the man said, yeah. Well, no, he probably didn't say. I think he probably said it like, okay. Real enthusiastic type. And Jesus said, so then take up your bed and walk. Move it, buddy. You got some faith. How is it working for you? This is the question for us today. How is it working for you? We have some 5 basic principles. How are they going to work for you in your life today? You know, unity is about practical Christianity. It's not about theory. It's not about theology. It's not about sitting down. It's about picking up your bed and walking. It's about taking it out into the world and feeling alive, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't that why we like it? Because we can take it out into the street. So I just recently read something about making our faith practical, and this minister talked about principles, about research, about debate, and interestingly, he wrote about swimming. He said, you know, you can know all these principles about the properties of water. You can know all about the studies they've done with water under a microscope and how water changes. You can know about buoyancy. You can know everything about physics and water. But until you put your foot in the water, you don't have a clue what swimming is like until you put your foot into the water. So how's it working for you? Are you putting your foot into the water these days? Or are you still talking about it in some part of your life? Is there some place in your life where you're a little bit shy or a little bit nervous, and you say, you know, one day I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my foot in. I'm going to put my toe in. Maybe one person here feels like that. I know it's true for me. I just started taking swimming lessons. I'm petrified. The teacher says to me, now you're going to do flips. Are you kidding me? I can't even breathe yet. Is there a place in your life where you need to put your foot in the water, where you want to put your foot in the water? How many people are talking about it and haven't done it yet? A couple of us. Oh, so we have to find a way to support one another, getting your toe in, right? And then your foot, and then your knee, you know, the toe bone's connected to the ankle bone, and so on. I want to tell you about a role model of mine who just knocks me out, because I believe like you do, that each of us has a tremendous amount of power and creativity within us. And it is God expressing, right? God is all the time trying to talk to us. But sometimes we just get ourselves so darn busy and so distracted and so stressed out that we're not listening. This is a person I want to tell you about who is named Kiran Bedi. She, at 44 years old, she lives in India, and she wrote this book called It's Always Possible. And I haven't read it all yet, but it's my resolve to read it soon. Get my toe in the water in this book. Kiran Bedi was assigned to be the warden at the largest prison in India. And it's a pretty bad prison. I mean, a lot of tough people, people who don't make eye contact, people who are afraid, people who are angry, people who have done a lot of crimes in their lifetimes, people who are suffering and don't know who they really are. And Kiran Bedi went into this prison and she said, you know what, we're going to change this place. Now, she didn't know how. She didn't know the theory. She didn't know exactly what was going to happen day to day, but she knew that something was going to change because she decided that it would. Anything is possible, she said. So she said to the prisoners, we're going to change how you live. We're going to change it so that your cells are not filthy and the toilets are working. We're going to change it so that you have something to do during the day that occupies your mind and makes you feel good about your life and where you're going and that you're growing even though you might be in a jail cell. And to you who work here, you guards, we're going to change your life too because the spirit of hospitality is going to reign in Tihar prison. Can you imagine that? So what was once Tihar prison became known as Tihar Ashram. I'm not kidding you. And so Kiran Bedi asked all the people in the prison, help me. Let your light shine. Let us shine our lights together. And you tell me when you know, when you have an idea, when something comes to you, when God speaks to you. And one of these young, guards came to her one day and sat down in her office, and he said, I have a teacher who has changed my life because he has taught me to meditate. And the teacher's name was Goenka. He's very popular. He's written many, many books. After a long conversation, she said, do you think your teacher will come to see me? And he did. Kiran Bedi got the people in the community to sew meditation pillows and cushions, to erect tents, and they had a 10-day silent meditation retreat for 1,000 prisoners. 1,000 prisoners! People who were ready to kill each other. She changed because of the power of God working through this young man and her and all the people who sewed and all the people who attended. Things changed. Anything is possible, isn't it? How many of us could change the world? Every single one of us here contribute to the changing of the world. If you believe it, if you can see it, if you can visualize it, if you can join together with people who believe it, we can change the world. Let me read to you one little piece. This woman, I just want to be at her feet. Somebody wrote this, Tihar emerging with a new face, Brahma Kumaras, homeopaths, storytellers, and more. They all frequent the place. The air is no more awe-inspiring, no more shady. Tihar is in for a facelift, gradually replacing the brutal image with something that is more humane. The jail, covering several acres, housing the bad, the worst, and the worst of the jailbirds, now has a spate of activities explaining the reason why its corridors remain crowded these days. The quick change in the atmosphere of the jail and removing the aura of secrecy and silence from the jail came soon after the new warden took over. Every day, every evening, inmates collect in the courtyard and wait for yoga sessions to begin, and so on, and so on, and so on. And you know what, friends? There are places in our world that need that kind of healing. Prisons need it. Hospitals need it. Nursing homes need it. And my stack of books right now is about the people who are changing systems in our culture. Because I'm getting older. And you're probably not, but I am.